Everyone, it's Vicky. I'm back with another alcohol ink painting. This time I only used two colors for the background, kind of a pinkish color and a dark green. You can see that I use a piece of paper. Now this paper is special paper for alcohol ink. It's not just regular paper. I use one called Ultra Bright, but you can also use Yupo paper. And the thing about this paper is it's a non-porous surface, so the inks don't soak in. So I got my background done, and then what I do is I use Q-tips and isopropyl alcohol, and I block in my shapes there. Now I did not just freehand this rabbit. I used a light table to kind of put an outline on there, and I have a reference photo that I'm looking at. You can't see it there, but I do have a reference photo. And then I use the alcohol ink markers to add color and my Q-tips to take away ink. And I also use a paintbrush with the alcohol on it, isopropyl alcohol, to move the inks around. The cool thing about alcohol inks, well, one of them, I mean, alcohol inks are so fun. I'm having a blast with them. But the thing that I like is that they dry really, really fast. So all the ink on this paper is dry. And when you touch it with the isopropyl alcohol, it becomes wet paint again. And then you're able to move it around. And then once you move your paintbrush, it's just automatically dry again. So you don't get a lot of smudges and you don't get that problem. Now, the problem that you do get is that if you use too much alcohol on your paintbrush or on your Q-tip, then it will move too much of the inks around. So whatever you put on the paper kind of replaces what's there. Okay, so it doesn't mix, it doesn't really layer, it replaces it. So you have to be really careful with what you're doing and be really intentional. And you'll see at some point in this video that I did a huge mess up. I got a bunch of alcohol on my paintbrush, and then I didn't wipe it off, and I don't know what I was doing, if something happened or whatever, and then I got a big drop of ink right in the middle of this rabbit. And so you'll see what happens. I get a big old hole. Now it was easy to fix, but then I was like, oh my gosh, and then I moved my paintbrush, and then I messed up the background a little bit. So I had to think of how to fix that. And it's really hard to fix the backgrounds. I kind of found a little trick after the fact. So next time this happens, I'll have a little bit more of a trick. But what I found is you can use a little bit of water, just a little bit, and on a Q-tip, and it doesn't act like the alcohol, but it will move those inks around a little bit. So I could have fixed my mess up, but I didn't know it until later on in this painting. And so I just kind of went with it. So you'll see what I did. And I don't know. I don't know. I think the painting turned out cute, I think, but I feel like, I don't know. I'll talk about that when we get to it. So as you can see, I'm just taking my time, and there's my head. But I'm taking my time and I'm adding ink, taking away ink. I like to use the colors that are in the background in the actual animal that I'm doing. So this rabbit is green. And so I'm just adding kind of some darker greens, and I have like a lighter green marker there, and I'm putting in those darks and lights into the rabbit as I go. It's really great to use a paintbrush for fur, because alcohol ink is really conducive to texture, so you can get some nice fur texture going on your animals. So now I'm adding some pink into the rabbit because I thought it was getting a little too green and it needed some pink. So I added some pink in there. So I just take my paintbrush and I'm moving that ink around so that it doesn't look like I just used a marker on it. It looks like because I want it to be ink, not markery, if that makes any sense at all. I want it to look more painterly. So I just keep going on and on with it. Uh, I did end up uh, using kind of a gray green colored marker. It's kind of a gray green instead of, or green gray, I don't know. But instead of just that dark green, because I thought that it just needed that. Now, normally, if I was doing a painting, like an acrylic painting or something, I would add a little bit of red to my green to get it to be less intense and a little bit darker. Because if you add the opposite, then you get that effect. But with alcohol inks, you can kind of blend colors together, but it doesn't always work real great. And I didn't want to put any red into my painting because I didn't want it to have red. So I have a lot of alcohol ink markers of different colors and shades and such. And so I try to find one that I think would be that color if I were to mix that green with a little bit of its complement, if that makes any sense at all. So that's how I ended up with the green gray in there. And it really did help because I didn't want just flat green rabbit. I didn't want it to be monochromatic or whatever, even just the green and the pink, it just needed more. So that's why I ended up with the gray green or green gray. I don't know. Anyway, so now I'm putting in, looks like the nose. I think I zoomed in on this one on the eye so you can see kind of how I did the eye. Now I did the eye in kind of a brown color. My lighting on this video isn't real great. I didn't realize that at the time when I was doing it. I need to set up my better lights for when I do these, but that's okay. You can still see what I'm doing. But with the eye, I ended up adding some brown into the eye, and then it just didn't work because it just didn't work. I didn't like it. So I ended up then going back in and making the eye more of a green color. So in this right now, you'll see that I added brown, but then I did go back in and just make it like that green instead. I did add a little bit of brown to the body as well, so that it would kind of have some unity there. But the brown in the body worked fine because it kind of made that pink just have a little bit more depth. So that worked really well. But in the eye, I just felt like it needed more green. So, yeah, so here's where I'm adding that brown, a little bit of brown in there. But, oh, there's my mess up. Oh, no, you can see what happened. Oh, my gosh. So, not hard to fix in the body. You just add more ink to it. But there at the top, it's hard to see in right here, but I did add some green to it, but you could really see it. So you'll see what I did to fix it here in a little bit. Yeah, so I'm just putting in the details and those touches. I think the details matter in these paintings. So then I was like, oh, what now? Okay, what am I going to do? So, oh, and I had a little dot there too. So I had two spots that had been messed up in that background. So I decided to add flowers because I thought this was like a little meadow. That was my thinking with this background and putting the rabbit in there because it just was like a spring meadow to me. And so then I was like, okay, I'm just going to add some little flowers. So I added them to the right, and then I decided to add them to the left as well. And in the end, I wish I hadn't added them to the left. Now I think they turned out okay, but I just don't think it needed it because the backgrounds of these alcohol ink paintings are just so cool. I mean, alcohol ink is such a great medium to get that fluidity, and that I just love it. And so to put all this realism in it I just don't think it needed it. But I mean, it turned out fine, but Yeah. If I had to go back and do it again, I would just keep the keep the flowers that are on the right of the rabbit and not do the ones on the left. But can't go back at this point, so that's okay. I think it turned out okay. So I used this green marker to make the stem, and then I was like, oh, it's too thick. I don't like it. So I used my paintbrush to try and thin it out, and it worked, but it was tedious. So I had to go in with the alcohol and kind of take away a lot of that ink that was on there, and then I was kind of trying to put it in different places because I was doing more stems, and so I would take ink off of the one stem and put it on another stem, and I got smarter on the right side and towards the bottom there, and just put a little bit of ink here and there, and then kind of connected it. So that's my tip for you if you want really thin lines, just put a little bit and then use your paintbrush to connect it. So I made the flowers pink, and then you made them also white, so they're just kind of pink and white in there. And I used my blender marker, which isn't a color, it just takes away the color, so it exposes the white of the paper. So in alcohol ink, it's just like in watercolor where you don't have white, you just have the white of the paper. And so anytime you see white on my paintings, it's not really white ink because that doesn't work very well. Unless you're doing it on black paper, then you can use white ink. But other than that, it's just the white of the paper that you're exposing with the isopropyl alcohol. That's the whole point of it. You use it, you take away the ink, and then you see the white of the paper. So this one's almost done. I did work on it a little bit more after I finished it. So the finished product is just a tiny bit different than this, not much. After I just didn't record it, but I did add a little bit of ground kind of to the bottom so that those flowers weren't just kind of running off the end there. And I don't know, I just felt like it needed it. So that's what I did. And then my lighting is so bad. It was that time of day. Anyway, so here it is. It's called In the Meadow.